So I think it's the 27th. So we just had our last pizza night, and something funny that I've kind of seen develop throughout the trip in regards to like tourism and stage performances and like different people showcasing their cultures is when we would go sit in different rings for pizza night, it was people showcasing their culture. And in my mind, it was a performance, but now I'm realizing it's just a true display of like their authenticity. And I used to feel like an outsider sitting there, but now it's kind of been flipped on its axis where it doesn't feel like a performance. It feels like something that I belong to. I'm a part of, like being in Paris. Like, we obviously don't live here, but I feel like I do. Like, I feel like I belong in these spaces, and I don't feel like I have to act a certain way, and I'm not scared that I'm gonna exhibit a bad type of behavior because now I feel comfortable here. So I'm recording this in the bathroom because my roommate's asleep, but it's the 22nd and we did the pastry tour today, and I think that was actually one of my favorite parts of the trip because our tour guide was younger and really knowledgeable, and although it's supposed to be a presentation like we talk about with Dean McCannell, or if you say his name, it was like also a mix of authenticity. So it's like the irony of like, yes, she's putting on a performance, she's giving us a tour, but she felt very genuine and welcoming, and it wasn't like she was necessarily trying to sell us something. It was more of like a warm greeting and just a really nice tour with a lot of good information, like about the mosque and the same artist that did the metros and everything. So if it was like a performance, then it was definitely one I would attend again. So it's June 23rd, and me and my roommate went to the Arc de Triomphe today, and it was actually really interesting to learn about the history of everything and to find out that even the most beautiful parts of Paris are like for more not pretty or cute reasons, like how he did Champs-Elysees as like more of a Napoleon, more of like a military thing that you couldn't like block it off. And it just makes me realize how we talked about authenticity in tourism, and I am starting to get this idea that everything is a performance, especially in Paris. Like every monument, every tourist site that you visit, like they all in one way or another are putting on some show that they want you to buy into in one way or another. So that was just kind of freaky to me. So we just got back from touring the Arc de Triomphe, and I think as my time here progresses, I've noticed that I'm developing a couple things. Like I thought I would like get more comfortable around like tourists and stuff like that, but I still get like uncomfortable, or that I get secondhand embarrassment or anxiety from them not knowing how to behave a certain way, or in the way that I think they should behave, basically, like not loud, respectful of other people's space, like not pushing and shoving each other, because I felt like when we were like going up the steps and everything, like they're just trying to go as fast as possible when we're all going to the same place and we're all going to get there. It's just a matter of how and when. So I think it's just measuring my expectations of how I think people around me should behave. Hi, so it is the 20th. I just had my birthday along the sand, and it's nice to see how we're kind of falling into a rhythm here of being comfortable around each other and knowing what to expect from each other, like behavior wise, and just like how we all know we're gonna like act a certain way, behave a certain way. And it's interesting to kind of see the different rings, I guess is what you would call them, along the sand. Like they're all kind of different. Some it's more younger people playing younger music, and then some are more like Latino, Spanish like inspired, and then some of them it's like older couples that are dancing to more classical pieces. So it's interesting how there's these like unspoken like staked claims for each area and how people behave in that space. Alright, so it's June 21st, and we went to the town where Vincent van Gogh lived for the last 2 months of his life before he committed suicide, and I have a lot of different emotions about the day. I will say it was interesting to see how
it kind of came to my attention that, like, when we were touring Vincent van Gogh's house, we were all too scared to, like, step into his actual room, even though there wasn't any signs or anything that said not to. But that was all just how we thought we were supposed to be behaving in the space, so that's what we did. But then we, once the professor, like, called it out, we realized that, like, it was probably okay. So it's interesting to see how, like, one person will do something and then everyone else thinks that's how they're supposed to behave in that way. So, yeah.
We're about to go to St. Malo, and I guess this is a lesson in, like, how to be flexible, because I feel like we've been in Paris long enough that we've gotten kind of accustomed to, like, how to get around, like how our days are going to be structured. So this trip is just kind of like flip all of that on its axis, because like we've never like been there. Like most of us have never really been to another place like in France, especially such a small town, like such a lesser known area. So it's definitely going to be fun to see like if we get thrown in the like unplanned kind of events, like how we're gonna handle that. But I'm also just excited to like go to a new place that isn't as much as a tourist attraction, because I feel like it might be more interesting to learn about because it's lesser known. So we just went to Versailles, and my main takeaways are that even though it's not like a religious place, there's so many religious undertones, because I downloaded the app, so I listened to like the audio guide all the way through. So like the Venus room, the Hercules room, Mars room, and just the way these paintings are so intricate and have hundreds and hundreds of years of history behind them is really fascinating to me. And just like the rawness of it all, like the fact that Marie Antoinette had to give birth in front of other people, like that in itself is just insane to me, because I can't imagine my life being under such scrutiny. So it's almost a blessing and a curse to be famous or in such high regard back then. So it was definitely like a reverent place for me to go to.